Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending our August board meeting for Clint ISD, the best school district in the state of Texas.
Yes.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Gardea, would you please call the roll of members and determine whether a quorum is present?
Yes, sir. Will all members please state present as your name is called? Mr. James Pendle,
Present.
Mr. Rocky Cruz,
Present.
Miss Mary Macias,
Present.
Miss Isela Torres,
Present.
Miss Yvonne Shea,
Present.
Miss Claudia Marquez,
Present.
and I'm Eric Gardea, present. President Pendle, we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gardea. We do have a quorum present. Joining us at the table, we're happy to have with us our superintendent, Dr. Juan Martinez, members of the administrative cabinet for Clint ISD in the front of the room. Thank you all for joining us tonight. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the pledge to the American and the Texas flag, presented tonight by the Carol T. Welch Band, led by Brandon Gamboa. Thank you. You may be seated. Let's give the hands from Carol T. Welch, the students a big hand. Ladies and gentlemen, the mission of the Clint Independent School District is to prepare all students to be successful citizens. The district will work in partnership with the community and the family to create opportunities for the students to maximize their personal potential. It's that time of our meeting that we set aside for public forum. Do we have anyone for public forum tonight? In that case, we will not have our public forum tonight. But at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Dr. Martinez, who has some very special recognitions tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Pendle, members of the board and audience. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Parker, who will introduce our guests and also the reason for them being here tonight. So, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, President Pendle, Dr. Martinez, and members of the board. Traditionally, we celebrate our graduations in late May or early June. While most students complete their high school journey in 4 years, some encounter challenges that may prolong their path. The students who we are honoring tonight have overcome various obstacles and setbacks in their journey to complete high school. But tonight we celebrate a group of outstanding individuals who not only took the time to complete their high school program and obtain their diplomas, but who also met all the requirements and passed all the assessments necessary to officially join the class of 2024. The students from Mountain View and Horizon High Schools have shown incredible persistence and fortitude in overcoming barriers and obstacles this summer. We are proud to award their diplomas to them tonight. Will the principals from Mountain View High School and Horizon High School please join us at the podium? Will the Board of Trustees and Dr. Martinez also join us out front to congratulate the graduates?
Jennifer, I have it. Now? Okay. Okay. I'm going to read something.
Good evening. Dr. Edmund Martinez, proud, very new principal of Horizon High School. And these young people that are in front of us today have impressed me through all their hard work, their perseverance. They didn't let things stop them. They continued on their journey. We also have some people that helped them, so I'd like for our counseling staff to come up, please, so that, because these are 3 individuals that also supported our students as we went through the process. So as I call your name, please, if you would please come up, receive your diploma, and you're also going to be recognized by our board at the same time, okay? So to begin with, Melina Elizabeth Cuellar. Jacob Rene Garcia. Brandon Gaspar Sanchez. Daniel Nino Reyes.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Kimball. I'm the principal at Mountain View High School. Thank you. We had five summer graduates at Mountain View High School. They've all elected to not participate this evening, but I wanted to make sure that we honored them all the same. They put in a lot of hard work in the weeks after graduation, the months after graduation, to make sure that they could also be called 2024 graduates. So please, if we could recognize Kaylee Ceniceros. Christian Glastello. Dalia Lujan. Brisa Munoz. And Kayla Silva. Thank you very much.
At this time, if we could have our graduates come to the front one more time. The board may be seated if you'd like. Will you face the board? And at this time, Dr. Martinez, will you please certify our graduates?
Turn this. Mr. Pendel and members of the board, at this time I hereby certify that the students of the class of 2024 from Mountain View High School and Horizon High School have successfully completed all required courses set forth by the Texas State Board of Education and the Clint Independent School District Board of Trustees. Therefore, I now officially declare the eligible students of the class of 2024 as graduates on this 28th day of August 2024. Congratulations, students. You are officially graduates of Horizon High School.
One last thing. Students, it is tradition to move your tassel, and you're going to move your tassel to the left, from the right to the left. So at this time, would you please move your tassels from the left to the right, which signifies that you are officially a graduate. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all these students who've accomplished this great milestone. We wish you luck in your next chapter and know that you have a bright future ahead. There are refreshments outside for your family and yourselves out in the front if you'd like to join in on that. And we want to thank everyone for being here, and we look forward to your futures and anything that we can do to support you in that. You know you can count on Clint ISD. Thank you all. Congratulations.
We're going to take a short break so that we can celebrate with our students and parents. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back in open session at 6:18. Once again, it's my pleasure to turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Dr. Martinez, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Pendle, members of the board. I'm just going to quickly mention to the public and our staff if they can take a moment to respond to the Clint ISD back-to-school survey. The deadline is August 30th, and it is found on the district website. And of course, the feedback from everyone is valuable, that it help us grow and improve, and therefore we ask if they can please take the time to complete it. Also an announcement, on September 11th, as you all, this unforgettable day, we will have a special flag retirement ceremony. Several months ago, one of our members, Ms. Shea, asked, what do we do with our flags? Honestly, we don't have an answer as to what we do with the old flags. So we had a whole bunch of flags stored in different locations, but they need to be retired in a proper way. And she volunteered to do it, but from the military. But we decided that we will do a ceremony with the ROTC department that we have. And so we have a ceremony on September 11 at Clint High School at 10 a.m. So thank you, Dr. Ritchie, for hosting us. And all of you are invited to please join us. This will be the very first ever flag retirement ceremony done by our ROTC teachers. And that is on September 11th. That is September 11th at 10 a.m. at Clint High School. And final announcement, we will have the annual strikes for scholars for the senior scholarships that we provide. And all of the funds that we collect through that activity, of course, goes to scholarships for students. If I'm not mistaken, every team dresses up in Halloween costumes. Oh, you moved the day, so you won't be dressing? Okay, then I won't go. No, I'm just kidding. So it will be after, so they don't have to dress up? No? All right, so there won't be any Halloween customs this time. But please go, and if you don't go, just contribute to the scholarship fund. That is, of course, all of the funds go to our schools for our students who apply at the end of the year, and we are always happy to give these scholarships at the end of the year for the seniors who are selected. Mr. Pendle, members of the board, those are all the announcements that I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Let's move on now to the administrative reports section of the agenda. Would any board member like to discuss any of the administrative reports at this time?
I have just a very few questions. On the information of federal grant applications, are they used for specifically what you provided, or are they used where they're needed?
Good evening, President Pindell, Dr. Martinez. Ms. Shea, thank you for the question. So for those grants, we have specific requirements that we have to meet.
Okay.
And so most of the federal grants, we go through a consultation process. So we had a public hearing, and that's where we gain feedback from the community. And with those grants, we have to allocate a certain amount to schools. It's very prescriptive, and we do follow those guidelines on all state and federal grants.
Oh, okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Klein. Are there any other questions? Okay. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. Would any board member like to discuss any item on the consent agenda at this time?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. President, I do have a couple of questions, starting with item 6A on the agenda, approval of the July 24th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes. After reviewing the minutes from that meeting, I intended to review the August 9th special board meeting minutes, and they weren't there. I'm just wondering if we can get some clarification where that might be.
Special board meeting
Yes.
minutes? Ms. Leon?
Thank you. And then I did have a question regarding items 6F and 6G. On the consent agenda, it says approval to enter into interlocal agreement between Education Service Center 19, Head Start, and Clint ISD for Meals for Adults and Children in Head Start. Could someone just share with the board and the public some more information on this interlocal contract that you're recommending we enter into?
Read the item again?
Yeah,
was,
it's item
with Region
6.
19?
Region 19.
It's items 6F and 6G. It's
Approval to
approval to enter
Start.
into interlocal agreement between Education Service Center 19, Head Start, and Clint ISD for Meals for Adults and Children in Head Start.
Yes, I'll let Jesse answer it
Thank you.
more detailed information than I would give you, but.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. That interlocal agreement is to allow the Head Start centers, which are at our early college and Montana Vista Elementary, for those areas to be able to benefit from our child nutrition program.
And
So
Red
we
Sense.
have to adopt a rate.
And Red Sense as
And
well.
Red Sense, thank you. And so for the staff and those locations, so that way they have a meal opportunity, that's what this interlocal agreement is.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I do have
That's all
more
right.
questions.
No problem.
My apologies. This is going to be for item 6I. Approve a change order to the AO General Contractor construction contract for the Mountain View High School site improvements project at Mountain View High School. I understand the rationale laid out to approve this, and I'll go ahead and read the rationale just for the public. The rationale is this change order will amend the current AO General Contractor contract amount of $8,313,837.56. The requested change will increase the owner's contingency funds to cover unanticipated project expenses and unforeseen conditions. The change order increases the contract amount by $191,477.34 for a new total contract amount of $8,505,314.90. The additional funds have already been allocated to Mountain View High School. However, they were not part of the original contract. So with the context in mind, I do have a few questions to ensure that we fully understand the implications of this change and its impact on projects. So first, reason for increase. Can you provide more details on the specific unanticipated expenses and unforeseen conditions that have necessitated this increase? And were any of these expenses influenced by inflation or any other economic factors?
Good evening, Mr. Pendel and Dr. Martinez. So the reason for some of those unforeseen circumstances are once we start drilling or doing the grading within the Mountain View area, we end up finding things that we didn't know existed there. So even looking at our as-builts, which as-builts will tell us what utility lines our own maintenance department may do, our internal work, or old utility lines, sometimes those don't always turn up. So some of those unforeseen circumstances that had to come up, especially when we did the parking lot at Mountain View, that was the utility lines. Some of the other things are as you deal with the ponding area that's by the softball field, it's extremely expansive, and so a lot of the footing for some of the fencing became apparent to the contractors, so some of the things like that came up. Other items such as moving certain things that make more sense for student accessibility. So items like that come up. Not necessarily price increases, because we have been on top of the contractor on the pricing from the get-go. So as the project has progressed, and with those changes, we want to move the funds that were already allocated for Mountain View, we want to move that into the contract in anticipation of some other things.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Mr. Gardea, I also requested some changes, such as the fencing that was not included on the initial contract, I didn't see the need for the fences, the chain link fencing with all the green mesh that was basically in front of the bleachers. There was no need for that fence. Actually, it looks cleaner, it looks nicer, it's gonna look amazing. So we made some changes like that. I requested some areas for also to be added additional concrete and things like that. It did not look very nice, the old concrete with the new concrete. It just simply did not match. It was very old concrete. The school is what, 30 some years ago, almost 30 years old. And so I requested that everything be removed so that the concrete match in the new project right in front of the band area. I saw the new concrete and the old concrete, and I just simply say, we're gonna do it right. So some of those may have contributed to the increases
Right.
of the new contract.
Sometimes you get a little too black and white with the engineers and architects.
Yeah.
So, just like Dr. Martinez said, we want it to look as nice as possible. So, they'll put new concrete with old concrete right next to it, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Shea?
On 6A, if you go to page 67, which is Horizon Middle School, they have a
Ms. Shea, did you?
offense in April, sorry, they have an, Horizon Middle School, they have an offense in April. I'm sure that that's wrong because we're in August. So that needs to be corrected. If you go April all the way to the bottom, they have one in August, I'm sorry, in April.
What, 6A, Ms. Shea?
6A, yes, oh, 6A, yes. Page 67.
Oh, okay, 6H.
If you go all the way to the bottom, they have it in April, which is wrong. In April.
Oh, the one.
Yeah, it's in April.
The one,
So I don't know if it's meant to be there, or they put it in the wrong place, or it just wasn't deleted.
we'll definitely check with Horizon Middle School, yes.
And then I
Make the
have.
correction.
Oh, okay, and then I have a question on 6E,
6E.
the approval of, oh, I can't see.
Interlocal?
Yes, what is it? I mean, I read it, but I couldn't figure out, what is it?
Ms. Klein will explain to you what this is.
Thank you, President Pindell, Dr. Martinez. Ms. Shea, purchasing cooperative allows us to meet certain requirements for state purchasing. So in our public schools, for us to be able to purchase from someone, they have to meet different requirements. And anyone that we spend over $50,000 on, we have to have a purchasing cooperative, which means that they've met federal guidelines, state guidelines, and we've done our due diligence. So this is just a group that we're able to join that gives us more options to purchase goods.
Okay. And then I have a question on 6J, on the change of the academic calendar for the November 4th that was added for the students not to be in school. Are they gonna make up that day or not? Because I didn't see anything.
Good evening. Ms. Shea, if you look at the previous calendar, we had the 30th and the 31st marked off as professional development days. So we just swapped those days out for the November election day and then the day after or the day before. There'll be no makeup days. It was
okay.
already professional development scheduled.
Swap of days.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. And then I have a question on N, approval to adopt the curriculum materials. Is that going to be any cost?
No,
No?
usually that's covered by the state
okay.
IMA funds.
Okay,
Yeah.
so no cost. And then I have just a question for me. On O, I realized that the agreement is from July to June. I mean, I know that usually it's like either physical year or school year. Is there a reason why it's just a totally from July 24th through June 25? Is it just the way the contract or the agreement
You said 6-0?
happened? Yes, 6-0, approval of the memorandum of agreement between the Intracultural Development Research Association and Clint ISD.
Excuse me? Is this?
Is it the school year? Oh, okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Consent agenda?
No, sir.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented and corrected. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our first action item, action 7A. Discuss and consider adoption of an order authorizing the issuance of Clint Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bonds, Series 2024, establishing procedures and delegating authority for the sale and delivery of the bonds, levying an annual ad valorem tax for the payment of said bonds, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. Dr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Pendel. At this time, I ask Dr. Klein to please come up to the podium.
Thank you, President Pendel, Dr. Martinez. We have 4 action items tonight that are about our bonds, our budget, and our tax rate. So this first item has to do with refunding our bonds. So when we first had our bond election 2015, there was a certain rate, and we have opportunities to, in essence, refinance if we were to compare it to a home mortgage for our bonds. So we have an opportunity here to refund our bonds. It will give us, as you can see in the rationale, an approximate savings of $540,000. Now that's over several years, so it's about a savings of $77,000 a year. And there's parameters in this redemption order that have to be met for us to move forward. So first of all, the pricing agent will be myself or Dr. Martinez with the assistance of our financial advisors who are here this evening from Hilltop. So they're going to help us through this process. And one of the requirements is that we have a 3% savings, which is about that $540,000. So this order gives us a full year. We watch the market, we see when the best opportunity is, and then we go through this process to refund a part of our bonds. At this time, the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the bond order as presented.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. What is a freeze adjusted taxable? What is that?
So the El Paso Appraisal Department looks at our values, and at a certain point, they freeze the adjusted values for your home, and so that's where no additional increases are made to that tax value.
Okay.
I had a question as
Yes, sir.
well. So my first question, it's relating to the savings calculation. As you mentioned, the rationale mentions that we could have an approximate saving of over $541,000.
Yes.
My question is, can you explain how that estimated savings was calculated? And specifically, what factors or assumptions are used in determining that amount?
Yes, so I'm going to invite our financial advisors to come up, and so they can explain that process. You do have a presentation that was also left, and we have that here as well if we need to jump into it.
Thank you.
So Ms. Maria Urbina from Hilltop will be able to help us with that question.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Dr. Martinez, for the record, Maria Urbina with Hilltop Securities. So in response to your question, we looked at all of the debt that the district has outstanding. We looked at the interest rates in the environment that we're in right now. The 2 bond issues that we're looking at refunding, we have interest rates between 3 to 5%. Right now, if we refunded that debt, we think we could achieve about a 3% true interest cost, and so that's where the savings comes.
And then my next question, it's regarding market impact. The rationale indicates that the final savings from the bond refunding could vary based on market conditions.
That's right.
So my question is, what specific market conditions could influence the final savings from this bond refunding? And how will the district respond if market conditions are less favorable than expected?
That's a great question. So, to your point, so right now, what we're asking is for a delegation of authority for a full year. And so, one of the things that could happen, obviously, is that the market could turn downward. We're in an election year, and so right now, we just don't know. It's been very volatile. However, we have been tracking the market, and it appears that maybe within the next FOMC meeting, which is the federal government's going to be meeting in September, we might see an interest rate reduction. So we think we might actually have better interest rate environment. So right now, we're going to be tracking this refunding. The earliest that we can actually do this refunding would be in November. And so I think that's really the first time that we're going to attempt to go out into the market. So if we can't reach the 3% minimum savings, then we will not execute the deal, okay?
And then one last question, it's on, also on market impact. So market fluctuations could affect the projected savings. So my question is, what are the potential risks related to market fluctuations that could impact potential projected savings from this refunding? And how might these fluctuations alter the expected financial benefits?
That's a great question. So, for example, if we took a downturn of about 25 basis points, I'll just give you an example. We had run a sensitivity analysis for the district. If the market went up in basis points, 25 basis points, we would lose some savings, and so we would go down to about 2.2%. So if that happened, we would not execute on this particular transaction. And that's only if, you know, of course, there were really dire news from the market, election, or whatever that may be. Now, on the opposite end, if the interest rate environment actually improved, right, and so say, for example, we actually went down 25 basis points, we can generate more savings. So we could actually, instead of about 570,000, we could reach about 725,000 of savings for the district. So it could go either way. We just don't know at this point where we're going to go. So for that reason, we're asking for a full 365 days. We're going to track the market, and once we believe that we're there, then we'll approach Dr. Klein and we'll let her know that, okay, we can reach the minimum 3%, if not better, and then we'll come back to you with a report.
Wow, thank you so much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
So at this time, the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the bond order as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve the bond order as presented. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carries. Our next item is discuss and consider adoption of an order authorizing the defeasance redemption of a portion of the Clint Independent School District's unlimited tax refunding bonds, Series 2025, levying an ad valorem tax to fund such defeasance and redemption authorization and an escrow agreement, and enacting all matters incident or related thereto. Dr. Martinez.
Dr. Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Prindell. That one was a mouthful, so I appreciate you reading that.
Is that the correct way to
So
pronounce
this,
it?
yes, so this is similar to what we just talked about. It's related to our bonds, and so we have the opportunity to pay off our debt earlier. And so with our tax rate, part of that brings in funds for our debt. And so at this time with our tax rate, we're able to make a little bit more than our annual required payment. So if you compare this to your home, if you were to do an extra mortgage payment, you have an overall savings on that principal and interest. So that's what this is doing. And so it is an approximate savings of $250,000 for the district from the tax rate if we go forward with this defeasance. Are there any questions on this one?
Questions?
Is it gonna affect the budget any?
Only on the debt side, so this unfortunately doesn't help our maintenance and operations, just overall general fund. It's only for our debt money. So it does help the district, but we can't move the funding anywhere else.
Would this help us with our bond rating in the future as well?
Yes, sir.
That's what I was about to ask, so I'm like,
Yes. Every opportunity we can to lower the debt for our district, we need to take in case we ever go out for a bond.
And I did have a question, Dr. Klein. My first question is regarding defeasance and redemption details.
Mhm.
So the agenda mentions that we plan to redeem and discharge a portion of the $18,760,000 in Series 2015 bonds.
Mhm.
So could you please specify which portion of these bonds will be redeemed, and how does this portion relate to the total amount outstanding?
Yes. Maria, is that in the presentation as well? So it is the maturity that hits on August 15th, 2032, and then you'll see the number after that. So all of these bonds, they have a certain time that you can do this, and so that's where we're able to pick this one and be able to pay that off earlier. If that answers your question? Yes?
Thank you. And then I have one last question regarding financial impact.
Yes.
So the rationale states that this action would reduce future debt payments.
Yes.
Can you provide an estimate of how much we expect to save or reduce debt service costs? And what impact would this have on the district's overall financial position?
Yes, so the actual payment is around $750,000, but we're going to have the savings on the interest since we're making that payment. So that's the $250,000 that we're expected to have savings for the district.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there
There are
any
no
other
other-
questions?
So at this time, the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the defeasance and redemption order as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
I do have a comment.
Comment.
I want to congratulate you because we gave you a big task while having a new baby, newborn. So thank you for staying sane and for keeping our district in the black.
Thank you, Ms. Marcus, I appreciate it.
Okay.
I wanted him to come tonight, but he would probably start crying, so we didn't do that.
Just for record, let's proceed to vote, revote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say
Sorry.
no. The ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, approval and adoption of the 2024-25 official budget. Dr. Klein.
Thank you. So I have the presentation that was sent in your packet. A lot of this is repetitive, so I'm going to move through it and just share the new information with you, but please, at any time, please stop me during the presentation. So we've gone through how we prepare the budget. We meet all of the guidelines, and we do allocation-based budgeting based on our student populations. We do have to spend our money in certain areas based on our student population. We look at our students, we roll them up a year, and that's how the schools receive their funding. We hard code some accounts to help our principals with budgeting. We have an electronic tool where they fill that in. So I want to pause on this slide here. As we've discussed, our budget is based on enrollment and attendance, or ADA, average daily attendance. So we based our budget on a decrease of ADA of 150 students. That was based on trends that we've seen with both enrollment and attendance. At this time, last week when I ran the report, we actually have an increase on our ADA of 56 students. So it is a good thing for our principals. They're hitting attendance very hard because if you notice here in the chart, we have a loss of 178 students to the district. So our enrollment did not go up, but our attendance is up at this time. So it's still very early in the school year. Kids normally show up to school quite often at the beginning of the year, so we're going to continue monitoring this throughout the fall. If it continues in this trend, that will bring additional revenue to the district, and at that time we can revisit budget, but we're monitoring it very closely. So kudos to our principals and our schools that are keeping that attendance rate high. For our tax rate, we've discussed this before as well, and I'm going to move to this slide here. So our tax rate has two pieces, maintenance and operations, interest and sinking. So it's two parts of our tax rate. And wanting to go in more detail about the M&O maintenance and operations. So we have Tier 1 and Tier 2. And Tier 1 here is what we call the maximum compressed rate, or MCR. The TEA tells us what that rate is. So we have to submit our final appraisal values to TEA, and then they send us what our rate has to be. So as property values go up, the state compresses our tax rate. They lower it so our taxpayers don't have such an impact on their bill. And so we are already at the floor, all the way at the bottom, because our tax rate, or excuse me, our appraisal values continue to go up. So this is our maximum compressed rate. Then after that, then the school board has the authority to adopt the tax rate, and that's Tier 2. So the first part of it is called golden pennies, and we are allowed to adopt up to 8 golden pennies, which we have done at your level. We have adopted all of those. Then for Tier 2, we have the opportunity to adopt up to 9 copper pennies, and at this time we have 5.83. And so we have 5 pennies there, so that means we do have about 3 pennies that we could go to the voters. But at this time, for your level at the board, this is the tax rate that you can adopt. If we wanted to add those 3 pennies, it would go to the voters. It'd be a voter approval tax rate election, and that would be in November or another date. But that would, yes, of course, bring more revenue into our district, $2.5 to $3 million. But of course, that would come from our taxpayers. And so at this time, we haven't asked you for that because we've been able to balance our budget with where we're at this time. The second part of our tax rate is called interest and sinking, and that's what we talked about to pay all these bonds. And so we collect funds also from our taxpayers and from the state to help with our debt payment, and we can adopt a rate that is to meet our annual payments. So at this time, we've kept the rate of 38 cents because that's allowing us to pay off some of our debt earlier. And so what you do is you add up the M&O and INS, and that gives us our total tax rate. So the first row is the current year, and then you can see we are dropping in tax rate for a total tax rate of 1.3520. And our next slide shows the history of our tax rate, and you can see that it continues to drop every single year. So that's mainly from the Texas Education Agency because they're dropping it at that point, and then our debt rate is staying steady. Any questions on the tax rate before I move on? There's just different language that legislation has had out there that we do have to share the no new revenue tax rate. What that means is if values stayed exactly the same, they did not go up, what could your tax rate be? But that doesn't happen. Values go up. So we still have to calculate this, but we don't use it. And so you can see that there is a no new revenue rate here of $1.06, and that's what the tax rate would be. But of course, like I said, we don't use that example. So even though we're dropping our tax rate, our taxpayers will probably still see an increase on their tax bill because of their appraisal values. So it's not because of what the district is doing, because of their values on their home. We have posted everything on our website. We did have a public hearing this evening at 5:30, and everything's available on the web as well. So moving on to the budget, this is the most updated chart for our general fund budget. So I've divided it up into 3 sections just to show the difference here. So up at the top, this is what we're considering our annual reoccurring cost. This is to make payroll, to buy goods, to pay our utilities, to pay our insurance. So you can see that we're expecting revenue of about $118 million, and also our expenses equal that. So at this time, we do have that balanced budget in our annual reoccurring costs. We did have to cut in different areas. If you remember last year, we had a $5 million deficit, so that has mainly been from district level positions and to make that adjustment there. The second section is a fund balance, and this is the ESSER fund balance. So if you remember, we set aside the $9 million to continue with certain initiatives. So each year we are calculating about $2.7 million that we will need. I've placed the entire amount that's left there, 8.7, just so we adopt it every year, and it'll decrease at that point. So if you notice here, the chart, it says a 3-year spend down. So you'll continue to see those accounts. Then down at the bottom are one-time fund balance projects like furniture refresh, construction, the maintenance and operations that we have to do. So of course, those don't continue every year. It's a one-time cost to the district. So when you look at it in totality, if we were to spend every single one of these accounts, we would have this deficit of $21 million. That will not happen because these are multi-year projects, and most of them are one-time projects. So that's why it's divided into 3 areas there. Any questions on this chart? Payroll continues to be our largest object. 84% of our budget is in payroll at this time. And for instruction, that's also our largest, of 32% is in instruction. Part of the adoption also includes our child nutrition budget, which is federally funded in our district. All of our students are able to eat free. And so our revenue is expected to be $9.9 million. Same thing here, balanced for our annual reoccurring costs. But we have a fund balance here of $4 million that we have to spend. So we have actually made some money in our child nutrition budget because we have high participation, eating breakfast and lunch, but we have to repurpose that money back into our cafeterias. That's the only way we can spend it. So we have to spend $4 million down this year, which is an exciting thing. We're able to replace equipment. We're doing different things in our cafeterias.
Awesome.
Debt service fund, as we've discussed, is also part of the budget. And so our annual debt payment this year will be 12.7 million. Coming from taxpayers, local revenue is the 7.7, and we still receive state assistance, IFA and EDA funding because of our economic situation here in our district. It keeps going down. EDA and IFA used to be 60, 70% of our rate, but because our values go up, the state sends us less assistance. So we do have just a slight surplus here. We use that for any additional fees that we may have, but this is all to make our debt payments. We continue to collect SHARS and MAC funding. This is all related to services that our special education staff. They are decreasing significantly because of federal changes that are happening, but it is still a revenue source that we rely on. Instructional materials allotment is to purchase textbooks and different software for the classroom, and the federal funds, the chart that you saw earlier of different grants that we use. You don't adopt that as a board, but thought it was important to share that with you. And so they're the grants that we anticipate at this time. We are still receiving more grants than in the past. So for example, Stronger Connections grant was a grant that our counseling department applied for, and they received $1.2 million. So every opportunity we have to apply for a grant, we are taking that. Especially now that COVID funding is ending, we are still looking for grants to help surplus our budget.
Do we have a team that specializes in looking for those grants?
So we have a federal programs department who, yes, they focus on grants and other duties as assigned. And so they continue to look for grants and apply for those as well. And so this is a change. So each year as a board, you adopt the travel rates. And so up at the top are the staff travel rates. And so we are not proposing any changes to that because at this time, the staff travel has been put on hold unless it is a required training that they need to attend. We don't expect any of our staff to attend professional development or conferences at this time. But there is a change to the student travel rates that we are proposing. So currently the per diem for students is $8 breakfast, $10 for lunch, and $12 for dinner. We understand that it is difficult to purchase meals at that rate, and so we're proposing a change for lunch to move it up to $12 and dinner move it up to $15. And we're keeping the times the same, and so there is a time that the students have to be away from campus to be able to receive the funding for those events. The last part of our presentation is just to show you the first rating, which is how school districts are rated on a financial standard. Just like A through F for STAR scores, we have the first rating. So as a district, we continue to receive the highest rating of superior achievement. Out of 100 points, we received 98 points. This is on a lag year, so you'll see it's the 23-24 rating, but it's based on 22-23 data. And for this year, I added in a chart of our Region 19 area so you could see where we stand. At this time, we do have the highest first rating in the Region 19 area.
And Dr. Klein, I kind of want to throw in there, I know that when I was doing my campus visits, I tried to get to I think the only spot I wasn't able to hit was the high schools, but I really want to throw it out there that it's amazing to see the balanced budget. I know it took a team effort, with Dr. Martinez, cabinet, administration, and, your team coming together really to make it happen. It puts us in a really good place compared to, other districts and neighboring districts. So very excited. I think everybody needs to give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for being patient and understanding, as well as our staff, to make with those cuts. They stepped up to the plate and did really well. So very proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions on budget? Yes, sir.
I remember a month ago when we were talking about the per diem, and I'm just curious to know what were some of your findings when you conducted your survey with our coaches?
And so we asked the cabinet and we reached out, and so what they were saying is it could be difficult for the lunch and dinner, but for breakfast, when we looked at all of the surrounding areas, so we looked at Whataburger, Chick-fil-A, you could still get a breakfast for $8. Maybe not Starbucks if you try to get a venti coffee, but when we looked at these rates, it was a more, an easier option for our students. And so we also, with our coaches, do ask that they take counts of students that are attending, make sure that they know that this is available, and then they could also pool their funds together. So what we see often is if someone's at a full day, I'll use a golf tournament. They're gone maybe for breakfast and lunch, but they don't have the opportunity to eat both because they're out on the course. And so at that time, they can put both breakfast and lunch together and then get a heartier meal after the tournament. And so coaches do have some flexibility for that as well.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the district still providing, lunch for them, or they have to buy it?
Yes, we do push for that, and so our child nutrition program can always provide breakfast and a sack lunch, but because of the times that they're leaving, different circumstances, it does get more difficult, and so we still have that as an option, but usually it's a cold lunch, a sandwich and maybe an apple, and we'd like for them to be able to have a warm meal during these events. Yes, sir.
I know a lot of hotels, they offer breakfast for the teams and so forth, so they will be able to carry that money over
Yes.
to lunch.
Yes,
That's
as
good.
long as they meet the times that are posted here. So breakfast is a little bit more difficult because if you can see here, it's 6 a.m. But that's why we have our child nutrition program as well that can provide the breakfast. Other questions?
Any other questions?
So at this time, the administration recommends the adoption of the 24-25 official budget as presented.
So move. Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the official 2024-25 budget as presented.
President Pendo, before we vote, could I just make a quick
Yes, sir.
comment? So before we vote, I want to say that I'm very pleased to express my full support for the proposed budget. This budget shows our dedication to keeping our schools excellent, safe, and fiscally responsible. Despite challenges like fewer students and reduced state funding, the district's careful planning ensures that every dollar is used wisely. We've made decisions that balance our budget while keeping the best interests of our students, staff, and community in mind. We're focusing on maintaining high academic standards, embracing new ideas and technology, and being transparent with the public about our finances. I want to thank Dr. Martinez, Dr. Klein, the cabinet, and administration for their hard work in putting together this budget. Their efforts help us stay true to our mission while managing our resources effectively and efficiently. Outstanding work. President Pendle, I have no further comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Klein.
Thank you, Dr. Klein.
Next item, the tax rate.
Yes, sir. So the final item this evening is our tax rate. And so as we've shared, we have the M&O and the INS tax rate. You will see that there is an increase in the language, and that's due to that no new revenue tax rate that I discussed. So if property values were to stay the same, this would be our tax rate. But because of legislation, we do have to add that language. So is there any questions before I leave that? So at this time, the administration recommends that property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.1352, which is effectively a 6.85% increase in the tax rate.
President Pendle, I motion to approve that the property tax rate to be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.1352, which is effectively a 6.85% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Who's second?
Second.
Ms. Shea? Okay. We have special language for this motion, so I'll repeat it correctly. Mr. Gardea made the first motion, and Ms. Shea seconded the motion to approve the property tax rate to be increased by the adoption of tax rate of 1.1352, which is an effectively a 6.85% increase in the tax rate. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Klein. Fantastic job that you all did again. Okay, at this time, the time is 7:01. The Clint Board of Trustees will convene in closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551071, consultation with Board Attorney, Section 551074, personnel matters, Section 551082, school children, school district employees, disciplinary matters and complaints, and Section 551081, school board personally identifiable information about public school students, closed meetings. Following items will be discussed. A, discussion regarding the 2024 superintendent's performance goals. B, discussion with legal counsel regarding the order of cancellation of a single-member district election for unopposed board trustees positions in District 3 and 5, I'm sorry. C, consultation with legal counsel regarding board travel. And D, consultation with legal counsel regarding Team of 8 board training. No action will be taken in closed session. We'll be back as soon as possible. For those of you who will be leaving while we're in our meeting, have a nice evening. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back in open session at 7:52. First item on the agenda, action regarding the 2024-25 superintendent's performance goals. Approve as presented? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's goals as presented. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
Sir.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, discussion and possible action regarding order of cancellation of election of single-member district and single-member District 5, and the declaration of unopposed candidates elected to office. No action will be taken on this item. Next item, 9C, discussion action regarding board travel for the 2024-25 school year. Do we have a motion?
I motion to not approve item 8C, 9C regarding board travel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'll just make a quick comment. While I believe it would be nice for the board to travel, I just believe that it is an unnecessary expense at this time. No further comment.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
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 No. By a vote of 5 to, 5 against and 4. You so, no also?
Could you do a roll call vote?
Let's do a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, say aye, or raise your right hand. Okay, we have 3 in favor. And those opposed?
Nope.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 against.
3, 3. So the motion fails.
Mhm.
Is there any other discussion?
I move to approve the board travel for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Does it need to be spelled out?
Yes, to designate one time per year, per school year, per calendar year for each board member.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
For the record, no, it's one conference per board member for the entire.
One trip per board member. Right. Any other discussion?
I guess I'll just repeat my previous comments. While I think it would be nice to travel, I still firmly believe that it is an unnecessary expense at this time.
Okay, if seeing no other discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
By a vote of 5-2?
Can we do a roll call vote?
5-2.
Can we do a show by hands?
Show of
vote?
hands. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Those against?
She abandoned us.
Why?
Oh,
Do you understand what you're voting?
Yeah,
for Ms. Torres, the,
to travel, yes, even though I'm not traveling, but you guys are, right?
5-2 favor, right? Okay. Yes. Okay. All right, next item. 5-2. Okay, discussion and action regarding Team of 8 training. No action will be taken on this item as well. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
second.
Okay. No objections, we stand adjourned at 7:56.
Vámonos.
Thank you.